it's like the most. To me, it's like one of the most classic guns ever. Where you could pick any western. I guarantee there's some in Magnificent Seven. There's a Good, Bad, and the Ugly, True Grit, Tombstone, Once Upon a Time in the West. I like wrote some of these down because I wanted to make sure they were actually in the movie, and these were.
Welcome back to another episode of the Men's Adventure Fiction Podcast. I'm Nathanael Hummel here with Luke Goozdich. I don't even know where to start. Thrilled that Fighting Harder Man has been doing as well as it's been doing. Luke was you were out at an in-person event today, right?
Yeah, we had set up at a coffee shop selling Fighting Harder Man Volume 1 and selling Vipers and Red Rocks, and that was really cool. I was there with Casey, the head of Veritas Entertainment, and he was out there pitching the book, and he was making connections with like the military guys walking in. It was really cool experience. So
That's
I'll
awesome.
be doing it again tomorrow morning. When this goes live, it'll be like a week ago, but I'll be on back at it tomorrow to sell more copies of Fighting Harder Man, so we can get this pulp revival out to people who weren't even suspecting it. They're not here for the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast. They were just coming in to get some coffee, and we're gonna hit them with the pulp. So we'll see what happens.
That's what you got to do. Oh, any opportunity you get, hit them with the pulp. That's what
Absolutely.
I always say.
That's my motto.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tenet of my life. I've never said it before today, but it's my new thing. We've got a great episode planned for you guys. It's going to dive into some pretty cool stuff, very men's adventure fiction, very specific to how these characters get the job done. But first, Luke has some pretty sick news to talk about. Very exciting. Something that we touched on a little bit in our action news episode, and we finally have a little bit of resolution. Lay it on him, dude.
Yeah, dude, it's great that you brought this up to, and are we able to talk about this, because I want to give some hope, because that episode we talked about it. I feel like I gave such like a devastating report about 1923, the Yellowstone. I was like, I think they're just filming now, and we're not going to get a season for like another year. It turns out that in February we're going to be getting the new season, not like a trailer, not a teaser. We're getting the real season starting in February. So I think February 23rd or something like that.
Yeah,
Dude.
I think that's what it is.
Spencer Dutton's coming back, and he's the first episode we ever did. So if you guys haven't seen that episode, you'll see why we love that character so much. Dude, I could talk about Spencer Dutton again for a whole other episode. We probably will once
We'll have
season
to
2
after
comes out.
season 2, yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe we should do weekly recaps of how
That'd be
badass
sick.
Spencer Dutton. We'll see. We'll digress on that. But to Luke's point, if you haven't seen that episode, check it out. If you haven't seen 1923, check it out. It is certainly the resurgence of, I mean, Hemingway, Indiana Jones, whatever you want from there's literally a duel in tuxedos on a boat on the ocean. Like you can't beat it. It's so good. I hope that they just keep pushing out seasons of 1923. Unfortunately, I have no basis for this, but I'm worried that season 2 is going to be the end of the line. But Yellowstone's ending, so maybe this will just fill the gap and keep us rolling along. I hope.
What we have to do is just make Spencer so undeniably huge that he gets his own spinoff, he gets his own movie, and they're like, all right, we can't. This is a cash cow, because money talks, right? At the end of the day, if they're like, this guy, we got to do something else.
I know.
They'll give us something else, man. So let's make that happen. We got to get everybody full force watching 1920.
There you go, guys. This is call to action this week. Forget about Fighting Harder Man for a week. Watch 1923. Lock
Absolutely.
in. Make Taylor Sheridan know that this is the way he's making his money. Yeah.
And it's perfect, because if you go ahead and watch 1923 Spencer Dutton, you're going to be like, oh, I need more of that. Fighting Harder Man has exactly that. Every story touches on a different aspect of Spencer Dutton. Why he's so great.
What Spencer Dutton captures in one single character. What a phenomenal character. All right. This is not the.
It is not about
a good
Spencer
episode.
Dutton.
This is not the Spencer Dutton episode. Do you want to tell them what we're doing today?
Yes. So we are going to be breaking down. Each of us is going to bring to the table 3 of our favorite weapons used in men's adventure fiction. Also used in real life. These are real weapons. So we're going to be breaking down our favorites, talking about maybe some of the movies that we love seeing the uses of these, or talking about why we love them so much. But what you want to start them off? What's your first one on the list of best weapon?
I think so. These are not by any. To some degree, they're my top 3. to another degree they're not. There's so many incredible weapons used throughout film, throughout books, throughout movies, throughout real life, that I can't really narrow it down to just three. Although number one is pretty set, and I'm going to talk about that today. But I think if you guys really like this episode, this can be something that we circle back to, because we could do a whole thing on just like medieval weapons or just guns or whatever. But we're going to do the whole thing today. The first one, I actually brought a little show and tell. It is a switchblade. This one's just like a cheap one off of the internet, because they're like you can get them for $10 sometimes, which is worth it, because even if it breaks, you still look cool until it breaks. But dude, the switchblade, literally too classic. I mean, I've been on kind of a Mafia video game kick, and it looks like the switchblade is going to be heavily featured in the new Mafia. I can't remember what it's called. Mafia. It's like
what is it called?
Homeland or something.
Old Country.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Nice work, dude. It takes place, I think, like early 1900s, like very early 1900s, because the first Mafia is 1920s. Second one, maybe the first one's 1930s. Second one's
I think it's
50s,
30s or 40s.
Yeah, and then the third one's
40s,
60s. Pretty sick. Great games. But the Switchblade for me, which the reason I love it so much is from a very young age. One of the first movies I ever watched was Magnificent Seven. And if you have not seen, this is the 1960s one. The remake with Denzel and Chris Pratt is really good as well. But the 1960s one is unparalleled in my opinion. It's certainly in my top 20 favorite movies of all time. It has Yul Brynner, who also plays Ramses in the Ten Commandments. So sick. He has one of my favorite lines of all time. He says, "So let it be written, so let it be done." And the dude apparently like just smokes cigars nonstop, so his voice is super deep. What a stud. And then it has Steve McQueen, James Coburn, Charles Bronson, Robert Vaughn, everybody. The dude from the ugly dude from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. What's Eli Wallach, I think is his name.
Yeah, is his name.
Yeah, such a good movie. Basically, if you don't know the premise, it's a classic. It's literally a trope at this point because of how good this movie was. These Mexican guys are getting raided by bandits, played by Eli Wallach, and they go into town and they find Yul Brynner's character, Vin. No, Vin is Steve McQueen's character. Chris. They find Chris and they're like, "Dude, you need to come save us." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "We could give you $20 a day." He's like, "That's piddly." And then he ends up getting 6 other dudes to make the Magnificent Seven. And each scene, it's like I said, you've probably seen this trope 100 times before, but he goes to each character and he finds them and they're like just being a badass somehow. Like Charles Bronson's like in one of those undershirt Henleys, the red ones. He's got an axe and he's just chopping wood. And he says one of the greatest lines of all time where he's like, "I need you to work for me. It's $20. And he's like, "Dude, I'm literally like one of the greatest gunslingers and mercenaries ever known to man. There's no way I'm doing it." And they're like walking away and he looks and he goes, "But $20 is a lot right now." It's just like such a good line. But it gets to James Coburn's character and he's just cool, quiet guy. And he's sitting there and he looks at this dude and this guy, like they comes into them and they're sitting there and James Coburn's got a knife and the other guy's got a gun and they're like across the way and he throws the knife and the guy shoots the gun and the one guy's like, "Yep, totally beat you." And James Coburn's like, "You lost." And he's like, "No, dude, I beat you." And he's like, "You lost." And then the guy's like, "No, I know I beat you. I know I beat you so bad that I'm going to actually, let's do it for real. You try to kill me with a knife, I'm going to try and kill you with a gun." And it's just one of the coldest scenes of all time. And if you don't watch that movie and don't buy like 6 or 7 switchblades just to try and throw them, you're out of your mind. So check out Magnificent Seven for some serious switchblade action.
And let's talk about men of action and seeing a movie and flipping it into a skill for you. I saw Nathanael throw a knife for real when we were out filming with the trailer and something that you guys will see relatively soon. Yeah, you actually know the skill now. I feel like you must have seen that, been like, "I want to do that," and you actually made it happen, which should be inspiration to people that if you do see something cool, it doesn't have to just be something cool that other people do. You can absolutely acquire that skill. So I love taking inspiration from characters, from stories, and you're like, "Dude, I want to add that to my arsenal." Actually add that to your arsenal, and you become that much closer to being one of these dudes that would get rolled up on and be like, "We need you for the crew."
Yeah, we have $20 for you. You got to join the team. I would say There was one too many scenes where I threw a knife in the Nate Colt, The Adventures of Wanderers series. And I was like, I gotta actually learn how to do this, or I'm just a fraud. So that was what was behind that. And I'm not super consistent by any means, but it is fun. And I don't think I would ever be good at throwing a switchblade. So James Coburn's on a different level, but we can all strive. I mean, they're $10 a knife. Go get 5 of them and just throw them at the wall till you figure it out.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and just to cap off the switchblade, literally almost any piece of men's adventure fiction has some sort of it. I mean, even if you go to like Rebel Without a Cause, which I wouldn't
Yeah.
even say is necessarily men's adventure fiction, but there's a switchblade fight in there. It's just classic, classic.
Yeah, man. When I think of the Switchblade too, kind of that same era, I think of The Outsiders, which is another one of those gateway stories to get kids into men's
Yeah.
adventure fiction. Again, maybe it's not considered men's adventure fiction, but it's close, and it's something to get a kid into reading at least. We all had to read it as kids, and it's like those greasers with the switchblades. It's such a vibe, as the kids say. It's like such something to having the switchblade, and it is such a cool piece. And a knife in general is always going to make people's top 10 best men's adventure fiction weapons list. Because
Yeah,
think
for
about
sure.
how many iconic knives are in movies, like
Dude.
the Rambo knife and
Right.
switchblades and
Or like even if it's not movies, just like actual Jim Bowie in the Bowie knife, like
Yeah.
nuts, literally crazy
right.
stuff.
It's nuts. It's awesome. The
But
karambit is one of my favorites, dude. That you can like spin, it's
oh
hooked
yeah,
and
dude,
everything. Those are sweet.
that's so sick. That's so sick. But that reminded me, Mutt Williams, Indiana Jones' son, is a greaser and he carries a switchblade, right?
You're right, dude. Yeah.
There you go. Even ties
at
into
that.
Indiana Jones. There you go.
Absolutely. The man
Although
himself.
a lot of people do hate that movie, but it's a great.
Not
I
myself. I
enjoyed
like
it.
it.
Yeah. All right. What's your number 3 or whatever number it would be?
Yeah, I guess number 3, again, no particular order even. But first one we'll talk about is Single Action Army, just because of it's like to me it's like one of the most classic guns ever, where you could pick any western. I guarantee there's some in Magnificent Seven. There's a Good, Bad, and the Ugly, True Grit, Tombstone, Once Upon a Time in the West. I like wrote some of these down because I wanted to make sure they were actually in the movie, and these were all had single action
Yeah.
armies.
So sick.
And I put it in Vipers. So you'll see that many of these find their way into Vipers in some way or shape or form, even if it's not the exact gun, the vibe. But yeah, the single action army, man. I love a nice revolver. I love a nice western, and there's nothing cooler than like a quick reload action that really shows someone's skills. You know, someone can pop in 6 other bullets and get back into the gunfight, and it not be an absurd amount of time. It just looks that much cooler. It shows
Yeah.
that much more skill, and yeah, to me it just ups the cool factor, especially if we go into modern. If it's western, it's still sick, but if you go to a modern guy and he chooses to have a single action army, it's like, this guy, what's he doing?
I know, dude. It's so cool. And what's tough too is you have the ejector rod on the single action army too, right, dude? That's crazy to be good. Like that, there are people that are good at that. Just blows my mind. And you know that that's too cool. I love it.
And you always had it's always like side holstered, and you know you got the spinning, the guns, and the gun tricks you do alone with the single action army is too good. Clint Eastwood has to be like the king of the single action army, right? I mean, if we think
Yeah, I think so.
first off, just because of how many westerns he's been in, but nobody makes
for
the
real.
gun look cooler than that man. He's
I know that's too
like
good.
Outlaw Josie Wales, dude. Those are single action armies, right? In all those pictures, one where he's
I
like
think
holding cross, and one's
they
like
might
this.
be the cap and ball ones.
Okay,
like-
well, I'm pissed. Now I'm pissed.
Well, they look very similar. I think those ones just have the single action army has like a piece above the cylinder, and I think those don't.
Okay.
But apparently,
never
this is-
mind.
this is literally crazy though. Quick tangent is that
Yeah.
a lot of the cap and ball pistols are black powder, and black powdered firearms aren't considered like legal firearms in most places because they're so complex to load. So like you can buy them and just have them ordered right to wherever you live, and you don't have to
Dang.
go through an FFL or anything because they're pretty much
wild.
just. Yeah, I know it's crazy, but it's also like, would I want to spend the time
Right.
like putting the wadding in and putting the black powder in and putting the whatever
dude.
goes, like I don't even know. I would, if you gave me that gun and I had to kill somebody or fight for my life, I'd be dead. There's no chance I figure it out.
That's like choosing a musket to go into a gunfight as well. And
Yeah.
if you guys can tell me what this movie's from, you and I will be best friends for life. Where he's like, "Is that a freaking musket? What movie is that?" If you know, I don't know if you know it,
I
Nathaniel.
don't
If you
think
guys
I
know it in
know
the
it.
comments, throw it in there. We will be best friends for life. All right.
Awesome.
what What is
Dude,
number two for
um,
you?
so we'll keep it in the cowboy thing because
Absolutely.
I love westerns, and I also love when you're able to slip, like you were talking about the single action army, dude. When you can put a single action army in a modern movie, so good. And when you
So
can
good.
put a lever action rifle in a modern movie, that is also awesome. I really love lever actions. I wish that they had more capacity because I think most of them they've got the tube and I think they can only hold like eight, 9 rounds, something like that.
Okay.
Which we can kind of like drop off a quick sub rabbit trail to the mayor's leg. Have you seen Steve McQueen in Wanted Dead or Alive?
I think so.
It's an old
It's not
TV
familiar
show,
to me.
and he played a bounty hunter, and he had a
Okay.
short, I'm talking like probably a foot and a half long lever action rifle. They sawed off the back and they sawed off the front. It was so sick.
That's
But
wild, bro.
I almost tried to write that into a Nate Colt story because it's
Yeah.
such a badass gun. Um, but because you shorten the magazine tube, it literally only holds like 4 shots, so it's pretty much useless. And I
Right.
remember watching Wanted Dead or Alive, and dude, he would be like levering that thing and firing as quick as lightning, and more than 4 times. So I guess they just like cut and
It
fixed
doesn't
it up
matter.
so that yeah. But dude, lever action rifles are so good, and to tie into Taylor Sheridan, he uses them great. I think there's an episode of Yellowstone where John is at a restaurant. I think it's John and Rip, and they're at a restaurant, and John's inside, and it's getting robbed, and Rip grabs the old trusty lever action from the the back of the truck, and he goes in and he takes the guy down. It's like, yeah, that's sick, dude. A lever
Dude,
action rifle.
yeah, the reloads on lever actions are sick. Like like actually doing the lever action.
Yeah,
When you
dude,
see
the
people
action.
spin it, have you seen that stuff
Oh
where they're like
yeah,
do
dude.
the spin maneuver, dude? Oh, so sick. And then you of course just got the classic boom, clutch clutch. Like it just looks it's like the pump shotgun. Like there's just
Yeah,
something extra badass when a
yeah, dude.
character skadooshes someone and then gets the nice reload in there and it's dramatic, it's cinematic, it's beautiful.
I know. There's that in the movie Bullet to the Head. Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, dude.
He's got a lever action and he shoots some dude like off the top of a tower of some kind or something like that. The guy's like, "You can't just shoot people in the head." And he's like, "I just did." And I remember watching that trailer and then watching the movie and always saying that line. It's so good.
Great impression too. Great impression.
Thanks. I mean, Sylvester Stallone.
He's got to get his own episode here shortly. He's the
He
man.
sure does.
Dude, the bullet to the head side tangent again to another men's adventure fiction piece of weaponry that would have made this list if it was a top five for me is, dude, like a battle axe or like a fighting axe of any kind. Dude, there's an axe fight in that movie.
I forgot. I don't know how
That's
I
so
forgot
sweet.
about that, but I did. Yeah, that movie is criminally underrated.
It's
Sylvester
so fun.
Stallone.
Like, if just don't take it that seriously, you will have fun. It's like Cobra, but
Yeah,
in 2012 instead
yeah,
of
dude.
the 1980s.
So cool. So sick. Um, the the last thing to say, I mean, you already touched on it. If you ever shoot a lever action, dude, just knowing that as fast as you can make your hand do this motion, you can fire it. It's so sick. And I used to work at a gun shop, and we had some that had the big ring to try and like spin cock
Do
them.
the spin? Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was so heavy, and it was not my gun, and I didn't want to like really commit, so I couldn't do it. But
Right.
I tried. I really tried. But yeah,
You could get
so
it. With enough practice, you'll be able to get it. I guarantee.
yeah, and also Taylor Sheridan, I think it was a 4570 sniper rifle that Jeremy Renner's character had in Wind River,
Yeah, dude.
and the way that like the one sequence where he's sniping people and they're like just flying the wire gags that they did where they're
Dude, one of the
yeeting them.
best kind of like shootout scenes is in that movie and
Yes.
that sequence. It's very intense.
It's
I love
crazy, crazy. That movie is a wild movie. Taylor Sheridan really does know how to tell a good story. All right, what's number 2 for you, brother?
it. The M40A1, and that's the specific one I'm giving because Thomas Beckett from Sniper 1993. If you guys haven't seen that, one of my favorite action movies ever. I think it's really underrated, especially because it's one of those movies that in franchises that screwed itself by doing just straight to DVD sequel, straight to DVD sequel, straight to DVD sequel.
Oh,
And it kind
that
of
stinks.
dilutes the whole thing where you're like, yeah, I don't want Sniper, get out of here. But the first one,
I've
like
actually
1993.
I haven't ever seen it.
You'll love it, dude. Give it a shot. It's
Cool.
very sweet. It's awesome. And the like location, the setting is such men's adventure fiction. They're like deep in. I don't want to say the Congo exactly, but they're deep in like the jungle. I don't remember
Nice.
exactly where, but it's super dense jungle, snipers, very sweet. But yeah, Thomas Beckett is the sniper, and that's what he uses in that movie is the M40A1, and it's such a clean looking rifle. If you guys look it up, it's just
Yeah.
classic looking sniper rifle. And Vipers and Red Rocks, we already have the single action army referenced, and the M40A1 is not in the book, but it mentions sniping a lot, and especially in the beginning where he's like taking
Yeah.
that dude off of his motorcycle as he comes around the bend.
So sick.
All of that was Thomas Becker related, and just more generally, I love snipers in film and in books. That's why James Reese is so cool to me. Bob Lee Swagger is sweet.
Yeah.
If you Another movie is The Wall. If you've seen that, like snipers can be used as like good guy, cool, badass characters we follow, or really good bad guys. Like Phone Booth and The Wall are great movies where the hero is trapped in one location because the sniper's like, "Hey, I have you pinned," and they're in like their earpiece or they're on a phone, like in Phone Booth, and they're like, "You're gonna do what I say. We're gonna have this conversation. It's gonna go my way, or I'm gonna blast you." You know what I mean? Like those, it's such a good bad guy.
Yeah.
And on the topic of snipers at large, more generally, because it's not the gun used, but do you remember in Punisher, the TV series, season 1, episode 1, where there's a shot from the USA to Mexico, and he like kills a dude with his sniper rifle
I don't
across
think I
state lines?
remember that. I don't. Dude, that's
It's
crazy.
awesome.
That's so
It's
sick.
it's always stuck with me. It's in the opening sequence where it's kind of showing his what would have been like Thomas Jane, the 2004 Punisher arc of him killing all the people who killed his family. It shows him
Hmm.
doing that real fast, like just compilation style, just him killing everybody involved.
That's
And one
awesome.
of them is he's set up in the. I
That's
think
so
how
sick.
I think how it's shot is like you see a guy, he's like going upstairs with a girl, and he gets her into the bedroom, and then he just gets blasted right like mid forehead, and the camera just
Nice.
keeps pulling back and pulling back and pulling back and like flying back, and you go all the way to like the USA, and Punisher is there across
Okay,
state
the
lines.
flying back's definitely bringing back to me, dude. That's so sick.
So cool,
From country to country, right?
right?
Dude,
Across state
badass.
lines, or across country lines, I'm gonna murder you. It's that's classic men's adventure fiction. What are your thoughts about snipers in men's adventure fiction?
It's so great. I like you said. Usually, my first thought is always like the sniper is the guy that you're trying to avoid. So you're like doing a
Yeah,
stealth mission, and they're like up on top with
perfect.
Overwatch, which like especially would happen in when you're playing the Uncharted video games. Dude, the snipers in there, you'd get like the laser coming in on you, and you just
Mm,
have to roll, and you'd be running from these dudes, and you'd be trying to fight all the like the goons on the ground with like
so
machine
sick.
guns and stuff. So you're just like totally locked in, but then you have to grab like a rifle and shoot those dudes, take them out. So cool.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think you've unlocked something here. Video games seem to have maybe the best uses of snipers ever. Because I'm thinking of World War II. Call of Duty had like a you're a sniper, they're a sniper across like
Yeah.
that was a sick level. And then
That
I
is
was
so
thinking
sick.
James Bond video games, same situation with Uncharted, where you'd be like, all right, I'm doing my thing, badoosh, and you would get like
Sniper.
sniped from like a guy in the tower.
You're hitting the dirt as soon as possible. I can't even imagine what that like because that's all based in real life, dude. Imagine you're just like on a
I
mission
know,
and all of a sudden like
done.
you're either dead or your buddy's dead and you're like crap and you just can't even find them. You have no idea where they
Yeah.
are. Nuts.
That's why there's such. I think that's why it's so interesting to me. Is like you don't even know they're there. They're literally ghosts. That's why the movie Sniper is so sweet. He kind of talks about that and
Very
like the
cool.
concept of snipers and one shot, one kill. And it's just like how freaky is that? Where there could be like this guy at all. Right now,
Yeah,
someone technically could be set up
I
just
know.
a couple houses down and just kadoosh. You know?
Literally, I literally think about that all the time. It's like any to have a character like Nate Colt who is consistently getting himself into sketchy situations. Like if people really wanted him dead, dude, you cannot be prepared for snipers. There's no chance.
Right.
Like literally anywhere you go. I mean, just driving, you're cooked. You
Hmm.
literally walk out of your house if you're not like diving into a combat role out of your house or your bulletproof windows on your car windshield like it's over, there's no chance. So I think that that's like one thing that all people who read any sort of story like any men's adventure fiction, watch any action movie, we all agree that it's over the sniper's going to get you every time. I mean, even dude, John Wick, the first John Wick movie, when John's sleeping, I think, and Willem Dafoe's character is on the other side of the Continental, and the girl character who like is kind of friends with John, but she's willing to break the rules of the Continental. She like breaks into his room and she's about to get him, and Willem Dafoe's like got the sniper trained on John, and then he shoots right to the like left of him into the pillow, and that gets the whole fight scene going. So it's like having a sniper on Overwatch would be clutch, dude. So nice. Yeah.
Got to get a good sniper on your team.
And funnily enough, I think it was number 4 on my favorite books of all time, is The Ambushers by Donald Hamilton. I think it's The Ambushers. And that book
cover has the sniper rifle on
it. Literally starts out with a crazy sniper story. Matt Helm was just hired to snipe people, essentially. Like they're in South America, and there's like a South American resistance kind of like militia type of deal, and they really hate the dictator guy who is in charge of South America, or not like all of South America, this country that they're in. And so they post him up, and he's just on top, and he's got this crazy sniper rifle, and he's literally just sniping and allowing the whole entire force to come in and kill everybody. And it's so cool because it starts out very like close to him, and he's like, yeah, I took out this guy, and that was like the key. And then I saw another guy running, and I didn't take him out, and then I just started pegging people off, and for the next half an hour I was just shooting people. It's like, dude, what? Yeah. You're gonna be sniping for half an hour? Like, isn't your hand tired from doing the That's crazy.
Dude, one last thing on the sniper that I'm just thinking of now is westerns. When they get snipers, very cool. And Quigley Down Under is like the best western sniper you're gonna get. You got to watch that movie if you guys haven't seen it. I can't remember the gun he uses, but
is it a Sharps, like the Buffalo gun?
Maybe. Like I said, I'm completely forgetting. At one point, I knew it, and I was like, "That gun is sick, and I want to buy it." But I don't remember right now. You guys can tell me in the comments what it is. I'm gonna try to look it up real quick while you tell us the next one. Wax Eloquent or go to the next one.
On the Sharps Buffalo gun, those are so cool. I think they're also 45-70, but I think they could also be 50 caliber of some kind, which is nuts. But they're so sick, and that was like the ultimate sniper weapon back in the cowboy times. I feel like
Silo Sharps model 1874.
Yeah, they got one into the gun shop I worked at, and it was blued and like had all this crazy stuff, and it was literally like a piece of art. Like the fact that people were sniping people with these guns is nuts because it's just so beautiful. It's like definitely the type of gun you'd put on your mantle above your fireplace, you know.
I mean, dude, think about the mathematics that would have had to go into that little thing of like when you clamp it down, like the long notches there.
You're like checking the wind.
Math just in general, still with sniping, they're like, okay, the curvature of the earth, and bullet. They'll put all.
Once
that
you
stuff
say the curvature of the earth, it's over for me. There's no chance. You got, crazy stuff.
I love it.
Very cool, very cool, and kind of a combo of Western snipers and lever actions. Isn't in the good and the bad and the ugly. The Man with No Name and the Ugly have the whole thing running where he like gets hanged all the time, and he keeps sniping them, and they keep getting away. Like he snipes the rope.
The rope, yeah.
He cuts the rope. So that's pretty sick too.
That's also classic.
So if you're sniping without a scope, dude, you're the next level.
Yeah, you're a beast. You win the game.
Then for me, this is number 1 today and number 1 probably of all time, and it's because it's super near and dear to my heart. It ties into Mafia a little bit. It ties into almost every 80s action movie. Ties into Uncharted, and it's the gun that I carry every single day. It is a Beretta 92FS or M9, depending on if you're in the military or not. Dude, literally a classic firearm. And I think it was introduced in the late 70s, early 80s, somewhere around that time frame. Took the world by storm, became America's handgun. It got beat the heck up, and a lot of military people hate it for that reason because they got like really, really old ones. But I've had mine my dad gifted it to me when I turned 18. I put thousands of rounds through it. Shoots like a dream every time. But I mean, dude, we got Martin Riggs, John
Yeah, dude.
McClane, Nathan Drake, everybody. I mean,
Can I grab my phone? I know I'm grabbing it a lot this episode, but I'm gonna
no,
make sure.
do it,
I think 2004's Punisher has dual Berettas. I think I'm gonna look
dude.
that up.
Hell yeah. Leon the Professional is one of the most classic ones of it. I mean, if you name like any action hero, odds are, even in Bullet to the Head,
Yeah,
Sylvester Stallone carries a Beretta for some portion of the movie.
it is Beretta's 1911, dude. I knew it. They're like dual. They're sick. They're like custom black and silver. So sick.
It's too cool. Yeah, it's just a classic. I love it because I'm 50% Italian.
Yeah.
I've always thought like, dude, this is the mafia dudes definitely have to be carrying Berettas. Oh, that's sick. Is it
It's the ones from the Punisher.
is it a Beretta 1911?
Yeah, that's what it
That's
says.
that's crazy. That's wild.
But they're like, yeah, they're custom looking, and they're awesome. They're in like the case of guns that his dad's shown him in the beginning, and then he like
Heck
punches
yeah.
through it and pulls them out when they kill his family.
That's
And then it's Western related too. So speaking of the Beretta having all kinds of, different feels to it and different uses, mafia style or new modern Western, because there's the
Yeah,
trench
dude.
coat. Punisher flaps it open, dude, pulls out for the duel. There's like a duel in it. It's
Oh, that's
fantastic.
so sick. And Nate Colt, my favorite character
Yes,
to write,
sir.
also carries a Beretta. Sometimes
Yes,
two.
he does.
He's a madman. But yeah, I think it's a very reliable gun, very fun gun to shoot. It is full metal, so it's heavy. It also, I think, because I was thinking a lot, like I have other guns that lend themselves more to everyday carry, concealed carry, but I think that there's very few guns that are quite as classy as a Beretta 92 FS. Like a 1911 comes to mind, a high power comes to mind, those sort of things. I mean, if you got a Beretta 1911, that's like a perfect combo.
Right. There you
So,
go.
so I think that that's every day. Every day I carry the Beretta. I'm like, I just feel a little more classy. I'm ready to have some pizza or something because I'm
Right.
Italian now. Like, I need some gabagool. Like get me some food. Get me some Italian food. I'm carrying a Beretta. Don't you know? I need my suit. I need the tuxedo. It's just so classic to me. So I think that there's all that combined with it, and it's just a classic of the genre for a reason.
Yeah, it really is classic. When, like, I think I mentioned this to you when we were in the woods filming. We were talking about the Beretta, and I was like, it has like, first off, the most masculine name you could have for the gun, Beretta. It just sounds so like badass, and
It does
it's
sound.
a big, it's like a bigger, more manly gun. It's just like mine. I have an M9, and it's like small, and you can like wrap your hands over it easy, but like yours is like you feel like a man, you feel like Clint Eastwood. You got like a mustache coming out, dude. This thing's I could kill someone with the
A
gun
big old
itself.
gun. Yeah.
I could flip it around and Henry Hill someone.
I know,
Goodfellas
yeah.
style with it.
You can definitely yeet that thing. It's got some heft behind it.
I think Nate Colt does that, dude, in Fighting Heart of Man.
I think, yeah, somebody does it. Someone throws something.
Someone throws a Beretta, I swear.
Man, there was something I was thinking about something too. I mean, John McClane also carries his Beretta in a shoulder holster, and so does Nathan Drake. So does Nate Colt. So I think it's also like a Beretta in a shoulder holster. It's very, very classic.
PBJ of
Exactly.
guns. And
PB and J of guns, dude. A Beretta and a shoulder holster.
That's fantastic.
It is also, it has the same open slide thing as one of my other favorite guns of all time, the Walther P38, which
Yeah, dude, those are sick.
those are so cool.
I love Walther, dude.
Yeah.
Great guns.
They
I
ma-
haven't shot one myself yet or anything, but I do love looking at them. They look
Yeah.
so cool.
Well, they've got like so many iconic pieces. I mean, they literally have the PPK James Bond's gun, so they're killing the game over there. But yeah, great gun, great gun. All right, what's your number one, dude?
All right, my number one is going to be wildly generic as far as people who are into specifics. I apologize if you really like weaponry, but I'm going to say it's a bow. A bow and arrow is my number one.
Hell yeah,
And
dude.
I'm going to try not to get myself in the weeds here between recurve and compound. But look, I love a classic recurve that someone creates handmade from themselves. And I picked it as number one because it's like that's the human animal I'm talking about in Vipers and Red Rocks, where it's like
Right.
the survivalist inside of me is going to make this weapon out of wood, and I'm gonna like have to face an animal or a horde of, bandits coming to the town, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
dude.
It's fantastic to me. I love the concept of like building the weapon. That's why like
That's so
rock
sick.
made knives are also sweet. If you guys have seen the movie The Hunted, awesome. Like it's
No.
knife maker. He's like a knife maker, and he trained this assassin, and now the assassin is like loose in the woods, kind of First Blood style. And they're like, "You trained him, you
Crazy.
go kill him," and he has to like go find him, and they have a knife fight, and it's
Dude,
fantastic. But the
that
knives are
does
made
sound
by
fantastic.
rocks. You see him like make the knife and stuff. Awesome.
That is so cool.
Yeah, the ability to make the bow is so sick, and so I put that in Vipers, and I love Last of the Breed for that reason. Anything that can show me someone crafting the weapon makes it that much cooler. And of course, that now we're getting into compound is kind of the best uses you'll see in movies with Rambo, First Blood Part 2. The explosive tip that he puts on the one and just
Oh,
blows
yeah,
that guy
dude.
to smithereens, dude.
So sick.
That's one of the funniest like moments in movie to me, where he's just shirtless Stallone. He's just ties that on, just pulls off, and then that guy just
He's
bugoosh
gone.
blows up.
Yeah.
And then of course Deliverance for me. I've talked about that a lot on this podcast. Deliverance is amazing man versus nature, man versus man movie, survivalist film, so sick. And there's uses of the compound bow in that. They're like bow fishing to start their trip,
Nice.
but then of course they run into those guys, and now it becomes like a game of survival, and the guys have to use that bow to keep themselves alive, and it's
Very
so
cool.
sick.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Do you
dude.
like bows in books or movies at all?
I do.
You a
I
bow
mean,
guy?
what? Well, this is gonna be like totally taking us way out to left field, but I mean, I remember Robin Hood being my all-time
Yeah,
favorite character for a very long time, and I remember,
that's recurve
yeah,
right there.
yes, sir, serious recurve bow. I remember, I had the great illustrated classics Robin Hood. The cover was sick. The illustrations inside were nuts. I literally would read that every single day, and then I would put on all my green clothes and run out in the woods and find a tree
So good.
and cut it down. And I think they talked. It was either that book or you mentioned earlier about maybe not on the pod, but about Native Americans making bows. So maybe it was
Yeah,
a book that I was given by I used to he's not really my uncle, but I called him Uncle Pete. He was the coolest. He gave me a book and it had like a kid, a white kid getting adopted into a Native American family, and he went through the whole story of how to like basically you took the piece of wood from the tree, and usually you wanted to get something that was like the center of a tree, so a sapling or something, so it had the middle because that was the strongest. You didn't want just like a branch or something like that. Now I have no idea if this is true. It was just a book I read as a kid, but it locked in. And then he would take bear grease, and for like weeks he would just grease that bad boy up and then set it in the curve so that it would like dry and build
yeah.
into that. And I remember like I grabbed cut down a tree. I got all the bark off of it. I went home and I was like, all right, what's the closest thing to bear grease we have? And my parents were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm like probably 12. I'm like, just anything. Give me
Give me
anything. And
some
they're like,
bacon grease right now, dude. Make
no,
some
they
bacon. Give
gave
me
me
that.
olive oil, dude. I mean, how Italian does it get? They're like, here, go grease your bow with this olive oil. So I
So
did it.
good.
I made the bow. It was
Did your
cool.
bow grow a mustache
No, it did
after
not.
that? Okay.
It did not. It did not.
Dang.
It didn't even shoot a Beretta. I don't know what went wrong.
Didn't go Italian enough.
But I remember, dude, that was literally like every single day I'd run out there in the woods. I found a tree in the middle of the woods, and it was the great tree. And I think that bows are so sick because it does strike that like in modern times so sick. You have like an extra layer of stealth because they're even quieter than like a silenced or suppressed pistol. It's
Right.
like, dude, got my bow. I'm dropping the people. No one's even gonna know. But then you go
Yeah.
back to like medieval times. It's like this is the gunslinger of knights.
Yeah, dude.
But
The
yeah,
guys
yeah.
on top with the flaming ones, heist, and just
Yeah,
send them
dude.
into the crew.
Nuts.
Dude, I can't believe I'm gonna fire myself from the podcast because I didn't. I mentioned Punisher with the Berettas somehow, but I didn't mention him for the compound bow. And when he's given his declaration of war in the end, and it's this sick voiceover of him giving his declaration of war, and he's doing the whole loadout, putting the weapons in, freaking locking and loading, and then it goes to him going and sneaking on the mafia premises and freaking bowing them all down with his compound, dude. And you just see like
dude.
neck shot, freaking headshot, and he's
That's
just
awesome.
going through wiping everybody out with his compound. It's fantastic.
Oh, that was
I
fantastic.
love that movie. I got to rewatch that movie immediately.
I know. I got to watch it for the first time. Still, somehow, it was one of the first things we talked about. I feel like I still haven't watched it. I've let you down.
Your time will come. You'll love it. You'll love it.
No, I gotta find it. That's become the new #1 priority. We'll see. We'll see what I can do.
There is some mafia in it. They're the bad guys, but still the mafia's in it.
Dude, the mafia is just great. If you're following along and they're like the protagonist, or if you're following along and they're the antagonist, because that's what's so good. The mafia and the Nazis are kind of like objectively bad, and everybody knows it. The Nazis are definitely worse, though. Like you're never having a good character who's a Nazi.
Right.
There's so many good stories where the mafia is the good guy, but it's like if you want to kill somebody, dude, make it the mafia. They deserve it. There's, and I think that's what's cool is when you can have like an organization that has different parts. Like some of them can have a moral code. Others are just like scum of the earth. So it's the mafia is great. I
think American cinema has realized the Italian mob is like, we like those guys. That's why they're always like Russian mobster. It's a Russian mobster. So we'll kill the Russian mobster. We don't want that guy.
Yeah.
We've decided those are the bad guys.
Yeah, those are definitely no. There's never a good Russian mobster. How it's crazy how cinema dictates so many things. Like if I met a real mafia guy, I'd probably be like, hey, that's kind of cool, and then he'd like kill me. And I'd be like, damn it, that was not cool.
It's so funny. Oh man. I was rewatching the Godfather movies over Thanksgiving break. So good, like absolute classic movies.
Yeah,
not on topic at all, but so good.
They are so good. Eventually we'll do like a mafia related
maybe when this fourth game comes out.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Old country. But yeah, bows and arrows are really great. I remember reading in Vipers, dude, when he's using the sinew or whatever it is from the deer that he killed to string his bow. I was like, there we go. I think I said before on the podcast, like, if this is what I have to do to survive, I'm gonna try.
Same.
But there's no chance. I'm not gonna have a chance. The
process is not easy. It's like within the bone and stuff. It's like not. I wouldn't know how to do that at all.
Well, that's
I'd
crazy.
be like, do I like smash the bone open? What do I do?
Then am I just getting bone marrow?
Like,
what is happening now? That's crazy. And I think that's something cool that you pointed out. Like all the weapons up till now have had a lot of like personal, like you can connect to them to some degree. But this one is like literally, dude, especially a recurve, like you were saying, you can literally make this yourself. And depending, I mean, you could even actually make the bowstring yourself. Like that's crazy. So then for your character to have done that and then to have him now kill someone with that, it's like even that much more personal. I mean, dude, imagine going in the woods and trying to find straight sticks to use as arrows and then fletching them like crazy.
Wild stuff.
But there you go. It's that extra personal punctuation mark when you when you stick one right through the neck.
Beautiful. So that's the list, huh? These are the first three for each of us.
I was actually thinking, dude, since we touched on it a little bit, we should do this is spur of the moment, but I'm going to throw out a bonus one. I think we can both talk on this because it's one of the most classic. So I think we're going to let's go with Colt 45 1911, dude. For multiple reasons. I mean, we talked about 1911s with the Beretta already. Yeah, exactly. But also, dude, Cheat King of the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast, because it was the first episode, Spencer Dutton carries a 1911. And one of the sickest scenes in that series for me was when he's like flashing back to his time in the military and he's on the train sleeping and the dude comes up. He's like, hey, it's time to get off, buddy. He like grabs him. He's got him. It's like, dude, that's crazy. Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, dude, the 1911, the one that came to mind when you mentioned it for me was from Red Dead Redemption. And John Marston, you go through his storyline, and then at the end there's like an epilogue where you get to play as his son. This is the Red Dead Redemption that like came out in 2010 or something. But you get to play as Jack, and perhaps you get the gun a little bit at the end of John's storyline, but you for sure got it when you were Jack, and it's the 1911. So that was the first encounter with that gun I remember, and I was like, oh, sick. And because you've been shooting like single action armies or other kind of revolvers from the era, and then you get this
Right.
thing, and it was just pow, 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 pow. I was just like, well, yeah, this is amazing. And it was my favorite gun in the game. I was like, dude, let me find a 1911 right now. I'm gonna wreck everybody.
That's awesome, dude.
It's
I remember
fantastic.
also tying into video games. One of my favorite. It was before I ever played the Mafia games, and I was in high school probably, and I went on a big like Mafia binge of like just loving Mafia stuff. And I have like a screenshot somewhere saved on my phone of I don't remember what his name is. It's the other guy in Mafia 2. He hands the gun to Vito, and he's like, "Here, Vito, take this in case times get bad." And it's just the 1911. It's like, dude, I wish any of my friends would be like, "Here, take this 1911 in case times
Dude,
get
right?
bad."
Was it Joe? Is that his name? Joe?
I was thinking Joey. Joe sounds right, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's also just like a classic Italian mafia guy
Dude,
name. So
yeah. Vito Scaletta, dude, what a name.
Vito Scaletta. It's too good.
What a name.
But a quick rundown of other classic men's adventure fiction characters who have a 1911 would be
Hit him with those.
Ethan Hunt,
Okay.
Barney Ross
Beautiful.
in The Expendables has dual
yeah.
1911s, dude.
With sick handles, right? He has got like
Sick handles.
the skull, like
Yeah, I think
etched
what
in
is it
the,
like
pearl handles there.
Isn't it like a crow on top of a scroll?
Yeah.
Skull? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is a crow on top of a skull.
Well, and that's what doesn't Cobra. His gun's also a
Dude,
1911.
yeah. What am I talking about? And those are just pearl grips, I think. I don't remember if there's a symbol on them.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
remember either.
Maybe. I think it's just pearl.
In Uncharted 4, the 1911 it replaces the Beretta, which is crazy because the Beretta replaced the 1911 in the military service. I mean, the 1911, people say it's the greatest gun of all time.
It's such a classic gun.
It is a classic gun. My biggest problem with it is like now that guns have, and it's also, which I mean, to the point of the single action army, if you're able to you go through 6 rounds and reload fast enough to be like even with someone in real life nowadays, dude, have at it. Be that badass, which is the same thing. 1911s are classically 7-round magazines, which is like you fire those off real quick. But if you're good, you change that magazine right away and you're golden. So, I mean, it's all up to the wielder of the weapon to be. You just got to train. You just got to be the badass.
It's an incentive to train and an incentive to get so good at it. You're
Right.
like, I'm going to throw my switchblade and then I'm going to pull out my 1911 and it's going to go fantastic.
And then I'm
going
to
to
use my musket.
Yes, dude. I want to freaking take some of this powder here. I'm
And I'm going to get them before they can
get
off.
you in a couple minutes, you son of a bitch.
Dude, this is formulated an idea for it wouldn't be a good series. It would have to be like a comedy book series or something. But the guy, like, he's so good he's like a hitman at the top of his game. All right, you can't steal this idea if you're watching this and you really
This
like
could be the
like,
prompt.
This is maybe this could be a prompt. We should do that. He's at the top of his game at killing that he just starts like regressing in weapons. It's like what is it? The gun game in Call of Duty. It's like that, but reverse.
Yeah.
Like he starts out like just top of his game and anything's like, all right, this is too easy. I'm going to start using like a single action army. And then he gets too good at that.
Gun, dude.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm just going to use you know what? Let's just use a sharp stick. Like I'm going to kill him. There you go. There's an idea. Maybe this is a backdoor prompt. If you write a prompt and send it to the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast at gmail.com, we may read it on the show. We've got a couple submissions for the first prompt. I just haven't had the chance to read them yet. All the way through.
Yeah, we'll do another episode with reading stuff here soon.
It'll be sick. Very sick.
Awesome.
But yeah, we guess we can jump into our final segment and send this one off to bed.
So for the final segment, we're thinking a throwback to the gear piece, right? And
Yes, sir.
I think we can all agree here that any one of these weapons would be the perfect piece of gear to have on you.
Heck yeah, dude.
Some much more practical than others. I'm not going to take my M40A1 with me or my bow on my back.
My dude's you got to start wearing a trench coat and you can maybe pull it off.
Right. Just a custom made trench coat and you lift it up and there's like a strapped in bow and arrow right there.
That's sick. Another backdoor prompt. Write the trench coat
assassin, dude.
All right, we're falling apart over here.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the odds, the likelihood of anyone watching this, if they're not actually like in the military or something, getting into some sort of gunfight or firefight or a place where you'd need a weapon is pretty low. I think a lot of the people who listen to this live in America, so it's like, but at the same time, it's like they're not zero, dude. And how
Yeah, the
bad
chances aren't zero.
and that's one of the things that I really get. Like, I love action movies, and one of the things that's most frustrating to me is when there's a character who's like, all right, I know I'm like, I carry a gun all the time, but I'm on vacation, I don't need my gun now. Next thing you know, dude, they definitely needed that gun. There's no way they didn't need that gun. So I think about that all the time. Like, I don't want one day when I'm like, I don't feel like carrying my gun today. That'll be the day when someone, like, I'm at church and
Right.
someone has a church shooting in mind or something crazy like that, or I see somebody getting mugged on the side of the street, and it's like, this would be the time. Like, someone's about to get shot, I got to do something. And if I don't have any sort of way to defend myself or others, it's like, how can I claim to write men's adventure fiction? How can I do this if I'm not even
Right.
practicing these things in real life? So
Yeah, dude, speaking of men's adventure fiction spurring a real life change in me, there was a line in like Terminalist, maybe it was one of Jack Carr's books for sure, but he was talking about how like it is kind of annoying and there's paperwork things involved with trying to get a concealed carry, but he was like, I'm not gonna let my like laziness be what gets my family killed, and I was like, dude, I gotta get my concealed carry immediately. Dude. Like,
yeah,
it was
that's
such a
really
moment
powerful
for me.
stuff.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that. So yeah,
right.
any piece of gear that you learn from here, most likely the M48 one.
Yep,
Strap
yep,
that on you every
for
day, so that
sure.
you so that you can be ready every day.
Close second would be dual wielding a 1911 and a Beretta 92. I think we can
That
let
would
them
be
go with
sick.
it. Yeah, but you have to
In the
wear.
shoulder holster,
Yeah, you have to
dude.
wear
I
a
can't
double
believe
shoulder holster.
we gotta cancel this whole episode because I forgot to mention who else has a single action army. What is wrong with me? Brendan Fraser in The Mummy, dude. This is the unofficial Louis
Nice,
L'Amour and the
dude.
unofficial Mummy podcast because I mentioned it too much. But he has single action armies, dude. It's coming to
That's
me right now.
awesome.
This shot
That's
where he's
awesome.
just dual wielding.
Yeah, yeah, so sick.
So
I
if you
love
want
it.
the dual wield single actions in your shoulder
And your
holsters, you
shoulder
could be
holster.
that much closer to
Yeah, you
men's
could be.
adventure fiction
That
glory.
would be cool. That would be very cool. But yeah, I think that sends us off. This was a great
Yeah, man.
episode.
Get Fighting Hard and Man. You know, if you haven't yet, this is just still the do not release copy. All the copies that are in the back of Casey's car for this event tomorrow. But
Yeah,
this is
dude.
the old pre-sale version. But go get your copy
Right.
now. Paperback, hardback's only going to be up till like the end of this month, so get that before it's gone, and
There you go.
then Kindle if you're a Kindle guy.
Yeah,
But
and
it's here.
some of these weapons we talk about are featured in Fighting Hard and Man. So I would say, too, like, maybe there's a new weapon that's going to be your favorite after you read Fighting Hard and Man. But comment
Right.
below what your top three are, top four, whatever you want to do, or suggest ideas for us, because that's what's so cool is that they're. I mean, the Beretta is a perfect example. In almost all of the 80s action movies, that guy was in there somewhere. And then in every movie since, there's usually often going to be some sort of Beretta because it's just an iconic piece of weaponry. The bow, always. So many good movies, either old ones, new ones, like set in old times, medieval times, set in modern times. It's just a classic. I mean, even if you go like Hawkeye in the Marvel universe, dude. Or Green Arrow. People love bows and arrows. So there's stuff like that. So drop a comment. Tell us what we're working with here. And maybe we'll do another episode of this sooner or later if you guys liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you so much for stopping in for another episode. We enjoyed it. Hopefully, you guys did too. So, yeah, we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.